And welcome to it. We are back live. Check us out on our Facebook. We are Keith and Gessie Radio on Facebook. If you check us out on our YouTube, where we are simultaneously broadcasting, it is also Keith and Gessie Radio. Please like and subscribe on that page, as well as hit the notification button so that anytime we go live, you get a clink, and then you do the clip, clip, and then you are bah. Hey, let's do it. Moments in current affairs. It's 21 minutes now after 9 a.m. Remember, it's back to school, so a lot of parents are feeling some type of way, and they're back at work as well, thinking about the little bundle. But we'd be having coffee right now, or we'd be having biscuits, or what? But Colon, don't go back to class. That's what's happening. Anyway, let's check out what's happening in our current affairs. In industrial action, striking clover workers marched through the Johannesburg city center, doing something which I don't actually, I kind of understand it as long as they're not damaging people's property. Striking clover workers marched through the Johannesburg city center yesterday, stripping the company's products from the shelves and leaving them in shopping trolleys. They are calling for a boycott of Clover products to protest against restructuring and job losses. Clover management has said that the decision to restructure was taken in light of the difficult trading conditions. About 70 striking workers from Clover marched through the Johannesburg inner city on Tuesday, calling on the public to boycott Clover products. The workers, many of whom are members of the Food and Allied Workers Union, FAU, or the General Industrial Workers Union of South Africa, IKIWUSA, marched from the offices of the Commission of Conciliation, Mediation and Arbitration, the CCMA, in Marshalltown to the city center, then into grocery shops, and removed Clover products from the shelves, leaving them in shopping trolleys. We want people to stop buying Clover products until the company meets our demands, said Martin Lidwaba, the Kiwusa shop steward. The strike by Clover workers has entered its 9th week, and workers say they won't stop until their demands are met. They are demanding that the company stops plans for further retrenchments and reinstate all workers. They also want the company to be independent of the Israeli company Central Bottling Company, CBC, which owns Clover through the Milco SA consortium. Last week, workers managed to secure an agreement with Clover at the CCMA that overdue bonuses would be paid by Friday, the 14th of January. But many workers said that they had not received the full amount. They said, "We are confused because this is a 13th check and we are supposed to get paid the same amount as our salary, but this has not been the case. As someone who earns 12,000 Rand, I expect to receive 12,000 Rand and not 400 Rand that they deposited," said Justice Mokoting, who works at the Clover factory in City Deep. When the workers arrived outside the ShopRite in Marshalltown, security guards tried to prevent them from entering, but the guards were outnumbered. "We are not here to loot. We just want to remove the Clover products from the shelves," said one worker to a security guard. Inside the shop, the workers took trolleys and filled them with Clover products, leaving boycott Clover products pamphlets in some of the trolleys. The workers also handed out pamphlets to shoppers and onlookers in the street as they marched through town, including in the reasons for the strike. Listed in the pamphlets are the workers' opposition to the major restructuring carried out by Clover, which entails a change from 9-hour shifts to 12-hour shifts, making work compulsory on Sundays and public holidays, and the introduction of 20% salary cut. It's tough. Striking Clover workers removed Clover products from the shelves in the shops and placed them in trolleys with pamphlets. They have spoken. The workers have spoken. What is Clover going to do? The home of former South African Revenue Service executive Johan van Loggerenberg was broken into during the early hours of Tuesday morning. The break-in comes just days after the home of Themba Maseko, former GCIS CEO, and another state capture whistleblower was targeted by burglars. Van Loggerenberg presented pivotal evidence before the Zondo Commission. In a statement issued through his lawyers, Van Loggerenberg says he has a reason to suspect the home invasion was no ordinary crime. Entry was attempted with some sophistication via various entry points at my home in a very suspicious manner. He calls on government to take decisive action to protect whistleblowers, The continued inaction and tardiness of the government in dealing with the entire topic of whistleblowers spells disaster for our young and developing constitutional democracy. Johan van Logerenberg says excuse me. Johan van Logerenberg, former SARS executive Ray White in for Bruce Whitfield, interviews legal counsel Bernard Hotz, head of business crimes and investigation at Werkman's attorneys. At each and every juncture of court of law has upheld van Logerensberg's version as correct. Unfortunately, it has exposed him and others to these types of acts of intimidation. There's very little doubt that these acts happen to him and perhaps to Mr. Masego are perpetrated by people who are connected in such in such a manner that they feel that they can act with impunity that has to stop. The time has come, says Holt, where South Africa has to step up and properly protect whistleblowers. Zondo has made specific suggestions in the first part of the state capture report. In Cape Town, scores of school children will take their seats in the classroom today morning as the 2022 academic year gets underway. The Western Cape Education Department said it was ready as it welcomes more than 1.1 million pupils on Wednesday. In this province, there are children who are yet to be placed at a school. Teachers and principals have over the past few days been preparing and welcoming over 1 million children to the Western Cape schools. Education MEC Debbie Schaefer says, unfortunately, most learners will continue to attend school in a rotational basis, costing our learners further precious time in class, despite recommendations from experts that school return to full attendance. Schaefer said she would continue to engage with national government regarding the return to daily attendance for all pupils as soon as possible. The Western Cape Educational Department has received more than 32,000 late applications, and the latest figures indicate that there are 451 grade 1 and more than 2,400 grade 8 pupils who still have to be placed. Schaefer said that officials were working hard to ensure that their placement as soon as possible. In Cape Town, still, the Western Cape High Court has ordered the alleged parliament arsonist, Zandile Christmas Mase, to be released from Valkenburg Psychiatric Hospital. Mafe was admitted to the facility last Thursday after the district surgeon diagnosed him with paranoid schizophrenia and recommended that he be admitted for 30-day mental assessment. The 49-year-old who has now contracted COVID-19 is in isolation for 8 to 10 days, has been accused of setting Parliament alight earlier this year and faces a slew of charges, including that of arson and terrorism. Mafe's lawyer, Advocate Dalimpofo, has questioned how the state could charge him with terrorism at the same time question his state of mental health. Judge President John Hlophe has ruled Mafe that should be released from Valkenburg Psychiatric Hospital first thing this morning. And this, I quote, he be placed in a normal correctional facility and taken out of Valkenburg. That order was made improperly and unlawfully, John Hlophe said. His bail hearing will be heard at the Cape Town Regional Court on Saturday, subject to the further consultation between the parties. Mafe, through his legal team, said that there was nothing wrong with him and he should be released on bail. In politics, the ANC, EFF, UDM, Patriotic Alliance, Al Jama, and others pulled out of a special sitting meeting to elect a chair of chairs after several attempts to delay it. The same meeting collapsed and turned violent last week. The meeting was adjourned and at least 5 times on yesterday before Cope's Colleen Makubela was elected unopposed to the chair of chairs position after the EFF's Nonhlanhla Hadebe withdrew. The opposition parties accused the council speaker Vasco da Gama of being biased after he declined for the vote to be held in secret. The EFF was the first to announce its withdrawal from the voting process. The party's Musa Novella said, "We refuse to participate in a process that is flawed. Any nomination that comes from the EFF is withdrawn." The minority opposition bloc, including the ANC, represented by the African Independent Congress, AIC, Margaret Arnolds, also withdrew participation. We are withdrawing our names and using the very same rule that the EFF has quoted, but we are going to further say that we don't want to be partisan to you flouting the rules, Arnold says. In a surprising move, some councillors in the minority bloc left their seats with their hands tied in chains, raising clenched fists and expressing dissatisfaction with Vasco da Gama's refusal for the secret ballot. They argued an exception could be made as voting for the same positions in the Ikuruleni metro was conducted through secret ballot. Councillors also demanded bottled water, which was initially barred from the venue after councillors allegedly used them to assault one another in last week's meeting, which left 8 people injured. Yay. Good tough part of politics, ne? Indonesia's legislature on Tuesday passed a bill that creates a legal framework for moving the country's capital from Jakarta, a sinking, congested, polluted, and flood-prone megacity with more than 10 million residents, to the jungles in Kalimantan on Indonesia's portion of the island of Borneo, about 2,000 kilometers away. Tuesday's bill, known as the State Capital Law, outlines a governing body called the State Capital Authority and specifies how the $32 billion dedicated to its construction should be spent. The new capital has a central function and its symbol of identity and of the nation, as well as the new center of economic gravity. Planning Minister Suharto Manoafa said, initial construction on the project, originally put forth by Indonesian President Joko Widodo, known as Jokowi, in April 2019 and scheduled to begin in 2020, has been hampered by the coronavirus pandemic. Now, roads and ports will be amongst the priority infrastructure projects to be tackled from 2022 to 2024. And further afield in this beautiful continent of Africa, Sudanese shattered shops and barricaded streets with burning tires and rocks, and Tuesday, staging angry rallies to protest against one of the bloodiest days since a coup derailed the country's democratic transition. The civilian anti-coup mobilization might be taking a new turn in Sudan, responding to the forces of the Freedom and Change. An influential civilian bloc called to start 2 days of civil disobedience on Tuesday. Protesters barricaded the streets. Shops closed for the morning, said a series of small signs posted in the closed outlets at the sprawling Sajane Construction Supplies market the market in Khartoum. Security forces on Monday opened fire, killing at least 7 people as thousands marched against the army's October 25 takeover. One of the merchants, Othman El Sharif, was among those who were shot dead. The protest came as Washington ramps up pressure on a bid to broker an end to months-long crisis in the Northeast African country, with top U.S. diplomats expected to arrive in the capital, Khartoum, for talks. They say we took to the streets to express our opinion peacefully, but the military forces confronted us with live bullets, tear gas, and sound grenades. Many of the protesters have been arrested, and until now are more than 10 people killed and others wounded in critical condition.
We are extraterrestrial. We are KNR.
And that concludes our moment in current affairs for the morning. When we come back, we'll be talking back to school with some of the parents and some of those who went back to school.
We're social. Check us out on